Hello everyone, Tony here, and I know when we do a Manscaped read, we normally have myself, Aaron, and Steve with me, but I needed to get this one out quick because it has to go in this week's episode because our friends at Manscaped have sent us this, the Handyman. They have entered the beard game. It is no longer just about your balls, my friends. Our faces are getting the Manscaped treatment as well. Are you tired with that relentless stubble situation? Do you dream of having a fresh, clean-shaven look, but cringe at the thought of battling the daily grind of a wet shave? Well, you are not alone, my friends, and that's why we've teamed up with Manscaped to bring you the ultimate solution. Brace yourselves, because Manscaped is making a statement in the beard game with the all-new Handyman Electric Face Shaver. Your ticket to a face as smooth and sharp as James Bond, minus the chaos of a traditional shave. Join the 9 million gents worldwide who've entrusted their grooming to Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Hop over to manscaped.com, use the promo code FMSHOW to snag a glorious 20% off and score free worldwide shipping. As I say, this turned up this morning. Usually when I do my beard, I get a disposable razor in to do my neck and obviously the line up and under my eyes. I used the Handyman this morning, and my word, no more disposable razors for me. This is a seriously good bit of kit. I am very, very impressed with that. Whether you're looking for a wet shave or whether you're going to do it dry, the Handyman is your trusty sidekick, ready for action wherever you go. It's compact design, it's airplane friendly. It makes it the ultimate on-the-go grooming tool. And of course, if you have a bit more on your face like I do, you can also look at getting yourself involved with the beard hedger that has up to 20 hair cutting lengths, all on one guard, so no more messy drawer full of extra add-ons. So trust me, gents, you cannot go wrong with any of these options. Manscaped has your grooming game locked and loaded. Get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code FMSHOW at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code FMSHOW. Hit that refresh button with the Handyman. Hello everyone and welcome to the FM show. I am of course your host Tony Jameson, and welcome to the countdown to Christmas, I suppose. Am I allowed to say that? We're in early December. I mean, I guess there's only one way to find out, because joining me as always are my fantastic co-host RDF Tactics and producer Steve. Fellas, how are we?
Feeling Christmassy. that's the way I can put it. I did go to town centre before recording this podcast with the kids, had a little breakfast with them, and yeah, the Christmas lights are up, the fake snowman is out, which my son believes is a real one, so we just have to go with that for today. So yeah, really feeling real Christmassy, and now I'm wondering, contemplating, is it too early to buy the decorations?
Don't think it's too early. We've booked our time slot to go and get our Christmas tree, so we've got that happening. Although people already have Christmas decorations, but I know what they have in my street. I've driven out, and the houses are all done like Home Alone. It's already happened. Like we've had a tiny bit of snow. We've had Yorkshire snow, so we've already had that. And Steve. We were going through the script going, do we mention Christmas? Oh, I'll allow it. Steve's wearing a Christmas jumper. For those on the YouTube, Steve is wearing a Christmas jumper.
It's hipster claws.
Well, isn't it just? Yeah, or leave a flat white out for Santa. Yeah.
To be fair, for those people that do have those heavy decorations out, I think I'd give them a pass, because I can only guess how it's a full day's work to do that. So you have to kind of schedule and make sure you have a full day to put those decorations out. But if you've just got a tree and a Christmas light and that sort of stuff, I am be looking at you weird. It's a bit early. Says the person that wants to go and buy some now.
I think I want to go now. Tree decorations are kind of one thing. I think December is fine for for example, it's December now, Christmas jumper on, because otherwise it's 1 month out of 12 of the year you get to wear this particular garment. Otherwise, so you might as well get some use out of it. And then you ramp up, and maybe it's a bit too close with decorations, but ultimately, do what you want. You know, who cares? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit like
That's
FM,
fair.
innit? Play how you want.
Play how you want, but others will judge you. So
There's no
just have that in the back of your head, going like, "Yeah, I can do
no
what I
safe
want,
scum in your
but,
decorations.
Oh,
No.
Or putting them back up and going, no, I don't like it. Put it all back down and start.
You put it
No.
up, make sure
That
chicken
didn't go out the way I
everyone else
wanted it.
no, it's too early,
Yeah.
boys, it's too early. Put it down.
I've downloaded my decorations this year. Super awesome wind decorations. I went undefeated at Christmas with this Christmas tree.
So you're fine, Aaron, are you? You're all right? Yeah.
The perfect reindeer. Yeah. I'm absolutely wonderful.
I've not even started drinking yet, believe it or not.
I think.
No, to be clear, that is not
time
what
in
we
December.
mean.
Absolutely fine.
There's very clear guidelines about what is a healthy amount of alcohol consumption, if you want to check those.
Okay.
Please drink responsibly. Speaking of responsible, Aaron, last time we spoke to you, you were in Italy having a wonderful time in Bari.
Yes.
Surely, I mean, 7 days is a long time in Football Manager, right?
Especially in my world, because it's technically 14, right? Because I stream 2 times a day.
Also,
it's still a week between the episodes.
That makes sense.
You've got double time.
Wait, did that just make sense?
Hang on. I streamed.
Wait, what?
Therefore, a week becomes a fortnight, right?
Then if you don't, you cut it. Lads,
this is a little bit like,
let's cut that situation. Let's cut that bit out.
That's going up online. You know when you go to the supermarket and you've got the trolley and you've got £1 and someone goes, "I'll give you the trolley," and you keep the £1. You go.
Hang on, I've lost it. I'm a bit. Hang on. So if they give, hang on. So they give you £1, and you give them the trolley with the £1.
Oh, right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the £1's already in the trolley, isn't it? So you give them the trolley and £1, and you take £1. But it confuses people. They go,
It does. It's that initial conversation, isn't it? And both of you like wondering, thinking that way. Is that right?
And that confusion would have ate away the precious time that you could have got it your fucking self.
Yeah. So can I use that as an excuse? I was confused.
Twice, so
I was confused.
It's 2 trolleys.
What I meant to say is typically you would play Football Manager 1 time in a day, whereas I'm playing twice a day. So for some people, a week's Football Manager is just like literally 7 sessions, where for me, that's actually 14 sessions. So you might finish your season in a week and I can finish 2 seasons in a week, if that makes sense.
You know.
see when you wake up, right? And then you go to bed. It's the same day.
Literally, it's quite literally. No, in my Football Manager head, it's quite literally the same day because I'm playing at midnight. I go to bed thinking about that season. I wake up and then straight away I'm in Football Manager zone. So then just like straight back into that saving and then that thinking again. So sometimes I quite literally don't know what day it is.
I think that's becoming quite clear, actually, Aaron.
It is the season to be jolly.
Literally, but what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, so the Bari save, we did complete it. I had to put it out there because I think for some people that, wait, you've completed it already? So we did complete it because the aim was to win Serie A, then we won that. Then we changed the aim to winning the Champions League and then we fluked that. So let's say that. We fluked that, sort of, yeah. And then, so we decided to start a new one, but this new one, we did and didn't think about it. I didn't think about it in the sense that it's actually tier 12. So it's going to be a long time before we get to the Premier League. That's the part I didn't think about. But what I did think about is having a save that would last me for quite some time.
Don't say how long.
So
Don't say how long it will take.
No idea.
We'll take this one. Did definitely go. We're definitely going into 2024 in this one. But we are into tier 12. But I'm also now reducing the streams. So I don't want to get to that part where I'm like streaming this save 2 times a day, because what I have noticed is that people come in the stream and they kind of missed our whole stream because they can't make 2 streams a day. So they'll watch the one in the morning, then they'll watch tomorrow morning and be like, wait, whoa, how you just won the league already? Sort of thing, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's what's been happening. So now I'm trying to pace myself and do 1 stream a day So, which is very hard, by the way. It's very hard for me, by the way.
If you understanding calendars now, though, isn't it? So that
Yeah,
sort of does
yeah.
help in a sense.
Yeah, literally. I was dead yesterday evening, so what do I do now? I was literally at the computer like, what do I do now?
Let's talk about it then, right? So we mentioned some of it on the Patreon episode that we dropped last week. So there was a Patreon episode where Aaron talks a bit more in depth about it and the rationale behind it. But let's talk as to, first of all, give us the potted summary then. Who is it you're managing and why?
The team name is Smith's Barometrics. Yeah, I know. I know it doesn't sound like a football team, but it really is. And it's a very, very local side. So I wanted to do a local team. The biggest local team would have been Cheltenham, but we was like, that's League One. Again, we might have that Barry situation where actually within a few weeks, the save's done. So we thought, let's just go to let's grind from the bottom, sort of that part to Prem feel. So then we downloaded the database. So shout out Dan on FM Scout for the English tier database. Many of you should download it if you are looking for a similar save. And usually it does start from tier 10. The link will be in the description, by the way, as well. Usually we do start from tier 10, but this database has tier 12. So yeah, that's where we went. And my most local team is Smith's Barometrics. Nice. Yeah.
So 12 divisions to get to the Premier League.
Yes.
Aaron, you've started it a couple of days ago. There's only 25 days till Christmas. So I reckon you'll be done by then quite easily.
Well, we have done season 1. And so the league that we're in, the division that we're in, only one team gets promoted. No one can get relegated, which is fantastic, by the way. And only one team can get promoted.
It's literally the bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah, literally bottom of the pyramid. There's nowhere else to go.
To this point.
Yeah, literally, yeah. So only one team, and then we managed to. So we had this conversation on the Patreon as well. By the way, do check out that Patreon episode because me and Tony actually are very open as well about our YouTube live, something that you might not actually hear us talk about anywhere else. And it's very difficult to try and get out this league. Only one team did make it. On the last day, it was out of me and Berkeley Town. And Berkeley Town snatched it. So we're still in the division for another season, which the players are not happy about because the players are also in the chat. Literally, there's about 6, 7, 8 of them. They're in the chat. There's 3 left wingers all asking to play at the same time.
That's amazing. Oh, man.
Man. So there is a left winger. I don't want to put it, obviously, I haven't mentioned that we would be talking about the team, so I don't want to put his name on blast. So I'll leave the name out. But there is a left winger that kept asking to play. He kept asking to play, and I'm very particular with my team selection. So I didn't really want to. And it got to a point, it was like, you know what, we're in a losing streak. We'll try anything at this point. Nothing can be worse than what's going on. So we just threw this left winger in. He started and was like, it was 1-1. It was like, oh my God, we're going to get a point. We can get a point. And then the last minute highlight loaded up and it was like, oh my God, we're going to get 3. I see my left winger just breezing through. He's through. We're all celebrating. He's 1-on-1. The fella almost hit the bloody corner flag. He almost hit the corner. I was just like, no way. But you know, in Football Manager, how if you dislike someone in game, that sometimes can spill out into reality. And yeah, I just had. Now I'm already a bit weird with this guy because he just missed his 1-on-1. Now every time he's in the chat, like when other players come in the chat, I'm like, hey, he's in the chat. When he comes in the chat, he's like, oh yeah, this fella's in the chat. It's like, yeah, I was proper upset because it was an opportunity for us to get 3 points out of nowhere, by the way, as well, against a run of play, and he's hit the corner flag, and it's just like, oh my,
that's really funny.
So yeah, that's been happening, but it's been a good save. It's been a good save so far.
I love that. And again, like, I love the fact that you're now down in my world as well. Like, in the world of second jobs and just like players.
You know what's crazy? It's like,
which foot's my left foot? You know, that sort of thing. Like,
I heard Tony talk about all these issues about his strikers, also the physio, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm at this level, it's like, it's quite literally the case. Like, my striker is also a goalkeeper.
Yes.
Who played in Gibraltar as well. He did play in Gibraltar, which is amazing. It's amazing. So I believe he was a goalkeeper when playing in Gibraltar. and now he's at Smith's. He's a striker as well. But we did see a game clip. We did watch a match in our stream as well. Twitch.tv/RDF Tactics. Got it in there, boys. So yeah, he was watching the match. And yeah, the main goalkeeper got injured. So then Louis Barnfather had to go in goal. That's his name, by the way. What a name.
Brilliant name. It's a brilliant name.
Yeah, feed the barn. Feed the barn. But it's a local team as well, which I'm pretty happy about, because now I can quite literally jump on the bus, which is just a few steps away, and then go to their home stadium without no troubles. So that's what I'll be doing next Friday. I'll be visiting their home game.
I love that. I love that. And you know what? I'm glad you put the link in as well, because honestly, if anyone's listening or anyone's watching and thinks, you know what, I need to see Aaron in the trenches, then like you've got to get down to this. We were talking as well about how he has to now use different team talks because the players are getting really angry.
Oh yeah,
enough nagging at home. I can't run it from him as well.
So in Football Manager, we're always very used to kind of just doing the same thing. Sort of, you got your own set ways, and we did have a staffing episode as well, so make sure you go back and check it out, where we're talking about how to set up your attributes and why certain attributes are important. So usually when I'm managing in the top tier, I have a high level of discipline, which means a more strict approach. So then when I am demanding more from my players, that is what they're expecting from me. So I tried to take that method into Smith's, which nobody was having. Like, there was just no response. And then I was like, what's going on? Let me just show them a bit of encouragement, tell them no pressure. Something just clicked, and they're like, I understand that language now. I understand that language. Oh, okay. So basically what I felt was happening, for example, my right back kept making mistakes. It's like simple mistakes though. It's just a simple pass back, and he would just not make that pass back. He would quite literally give it to their striker. And it was because like demand more. And then when you're demanding more, like maybe I'm just adding more pressure onto these guys and they're making these silly mistakes. Whereas I'm telling you, look, no pressure, take your time, calm down. Then it's a bit better for these players. They can be a bit more composed on the ball. They know there's no pressure on them, and they can try and attempt these more riskier actions rather than me demanding it. Oh, I'm disappointed you haven't hit this 35-yard pass, which Kevin De Bruyne might actually find trouble hitting himself, sort of thing. Yeah, so that's what I'm adapting to. I'm adapting.
Fantastic. Lovely. Excellent. And of course, do go and check that out on stream. And of course, we'll have another update next week or in 14 days, however Aaron's calendar works. Steve, what about yourself? You were you obviously were in Florence, then you were possibly in Everton. Cambridge,
well,
maybe?
For those who listened to last week's episode, which we recorded before the events we're about to describe, obviously with the IRL situation with Everton, I'm still unsure about whether to carry on that FN24 save. Haven't to that point. And I think when you just don't feel it, I think that's a sign as much as anything, isn't it? So touted the idea of Cambridge United, my local team. But as one of the reasons to get into a save is when you think that you can do a better job than the current IRL incumbent. That's what we discussed before, right? At the point of recording, the incumbent of Cambridge United Football Club's men's team manager position was a coach called Mark Bonner, who had risen through the youth academy ranks. He was like the under-21 manager, I think, etc. Come up, I believe, got them promoted from League 2 to League 1, kept them in League 1 last year, final day of the season, great escape, etc. They're mid-table at the moment, League 1, IRL at time of recording. Doing a really good job, up-and-coming sort of coach. Cambridge local as well, so very much beloved of the club and by the club. Cambridge sacked him this week. Yeah.
Say what?
So
wait,
that's nothing to do with us, by the way. That the word hasn't gone out. The producer Steve is touting for the job, and they went, "Hey, we can get producer Steve in here."
Can you imagine how quickly they've exposed has been wildly underqualified? Could you imagine how quickly that would go? And he came in and he threw a water bottle at me.
This is what I did with Fiorentina. This is what I did with Fiorentina in FM22, right? It'll work with them. It'll work with you, right? Now,
and on the question of which motivational bits, touchdown shouts, are used most often, which ones do you think they are? Having known me a little while now.
Just gentle encouragement. Gentle. I mean, no, it's shouting.
I'm going to say berate.
He throws. You should see the messages we get sent. Like, it's horrible.
Demand more, actually, rather than it's more kind of like I expect more from you.
He rules with an iron fist.
Demand more.
Yeah,
but with the subtextual imposition of berating coming if you don't.
yeah.
But yeah. So now IRL Cambridge United currently don't have a permanent manager. I think their former striker Barry Core and then former Arsenal under-23 coach Kevin Betsy are sort of helming things at the moment at the time of recording, based on very, very little knowledge, but just as a hunch. Because I think Kevin Betsy is quite well regarded in terms of up-and-coming coaching. So it wouldn't surprise me if he kind of got it permanently as a sort of, this is literally the only prediction about League One I think I've ever made in my life. So, but it just feels like maybe he's the one that they're going to go for. And
it feels right
that they haven't already done this. Blah, blah, blah.
It's all right. We can obviously address it on next week's show when it turns out he has been given the job.
That's what I'm hoping. I've got a hunch, But yeah, so
welcome to Producer Steve's predictions section.
But yeah, so Cambridge United now vacant, which is just funny how life works, isn't it? But however, I am still in Florence and yet again reinvigorated with it because Aaron Falloon, you beautiful, beautiful man. Last week's episode, and we'll go into this in a second, but one of the tactics we looked at in detail was vertical tiki-taka. The tactic I've been using overwhelmingly in my recent FM return career, sort of since 20 whenever. I have never used it with a 4-4-2 diamond. Until now. And oh my God.
Look at me. Now I'm thinking myself, whoa, this might be a video.
I would like a cut of that if you do make it. But I tried it. So I lost to Porto in the Champions League, playing my usual 4-3-3, etc. And it's like, and one of those games where it's like, I don't know what to do here. They've just got me. Like, you're a possession-based team, but didn't get the ball. Lost it. Lost the game. Sorry, didn't lose my temper. Kind of lost my temper as well. But we did that episode. I was like, and I think actually, I don't know, Tony, if you had the same. I think we were both like, huh.
Oh, we had that. I believe it's called the Gestalt moment, isn't it? The light bulb effect. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that is that thing. That explains a lot. I just need to make a quick phone call.
Then for Cagliari, first game, changed it to a 44 diamond. 4-1-2-1-2, technically speaking, but you know what I mean. Since then, how many are we talking? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I've won 13 games out of 17. I've scored multiple 3 goals in one game, a 4-goal, 5. And I've conceded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 goals across those 17 games.
That's nice. That is nice. What I have found, to be fair, I haven't really tried it this year. I know FM22 is that when you do have players or bodies in central positions, it is fairly difficult to break down. Like you rarely concede very good chances. That is something that I have. But what I did also find in FM22, what you're not actually currently having this experience is sometimes, obviously, the drawback is the creativity as well. Sometimes because obviously you're not really creating much in those wider areas. You don't have that winger driving into open spaces and that sort of thing. So there's obviously pros and cons with every system that you have. But once you find that right balance, then it can
this is
really
it. And it's obviously game specific, against sort of teams, especially with Serie A. I half wonder as well whether it really works in Serie A because I've got two Mazzalas. So deep line playmaker, 2 Mazzalas, one on attack, one on support. So you're getting the narrow width from the Mazzalas. And just on the outside edge of the box, your 5 attacking lanes end up being quite narrow. You've got your 2. I've got complete forward as well, so a bit of movement because then attacking midfielder and support, you've got to move them a bit as well as having your advance forward. depending on the kind of team I've got, wing backs and support, for example, both sides. So you get a bit of width from them too. So it's just a dizzying array of options of movement. It's oh man, honestly.
It's a thing of beauty is what it is. If you got that double Mazzala like on the FM22 is just wonderful. Wasn't it? Like any double roll in midfield at FM22 was just rolls, just sit back and go like it's going to be really painful for you.
And also the goals spread around like unbelievably.
Yeah, that's what I enjoy the most. I enjoy that the most. Like, don't get it twisted. I do like a striker scoring about 40 odd goals, but that's a bit of a worry if it's only him. I do like when our team, Steve. I don't want to mention the team's name. When our team won the other day, seeing 6 different goal scorers makes the scoreline makes the day perfect, rather than one player scoring 4 and then sort of thing. Like everyone getting their moments.
And we've had, obviously the slightly before formation change, we've had 14 separate goal scorers in the squad at the halfway point. We're in January, 14. But then additionally, I've got a guy on 16 goals this season, a guy on 9, and a guy on 7. So, and that 7 actually came from the Mazzala position. So pretty much all of his goals come from midfield. So,
nice.
I'm a happy boy.
Nice.
Excellent, like that as well. Sounds like everyone's having a lovely time. You know what? I will save Greece. Actually, I'm going to do a tiny little hint on Greece as to where we're going to go, and we'll do a bit more of Greece next week rather than hogging all the save stuff up at the start. But high level, we finished season 2. We again didn't get promoted. Sadly, the league structure had changed, but there's now no longer North and South. It's just a full one division. The two teams who came down from Division 1 got promoted straight back up to the Division 1 again. The team who won lost 2 games, and they came in the last 5 games of the season because it looked like they were going to go unbeaten. We finished 20 points behind, so it was a bit worrying. A little bit of a rebuild job in the summer, including backroom staff. Luke Nillis, the Belgian sensation, legend, has come in as my set-piece coach. Little hint and tip, by the way, to anyone listening who wants a set-piece coach. Luke Nillis, set pieces of 13, working with youngsters of 16. So just put that one on your radar there. And Kit Simmons has come in as my defensive coordinator. He's previously been at Fulham, from Fulham, he's previously been in Greece, of course, with Chris Coleman and other clubs in there as well. So got him in. And I took a punt. Right, and I think this is going to be an episode in the future. These always end up being episodes in the future.
Literally.
I took a punt on trusting my own instincts, right, and buying blind. Because we mentioned that I've got like former Champman, legend, Umbo and Penza is my scout. Yeah?
Oh, yes.
So he has been pulling up little diamonds left, right, and centre. We got this lad called Doumbia, who I mentioned about. He ended up scoring 10 goals in 17 games. Cracking find. We ended up with another sort of foray out into Africa, and there's a club called Generation Foot. Now, there was a player called Maudo Dieng, who is a very, very young, he's 19 now, so he's 18 when I approached him, Senegalese centre-half. I only saw 1 or 2 sort of ideas of attributes. You get the attribute range.
Yeah.
And I was going, there's something that kind of... we need a centre-back. We might as well just try it. He's young enough. He's on 100 quid a week, so like, what can possibly go wrong? And he wanted to be a star player, and he wanted a grand, and I was like, I like the curry or jib. Like, you're coming here like going, honestly, this is going to be the best decision you make. And so I thought, right, you know what? Let's go for it. We agreed the deal. He's turned up. He's pretty decent. He's got heading of 15, marking of 15, tackling of 14, positioning of 15, jumping of 15, and acceleration of 15, and determination of 13. At 6'1" and 19, he is gonna be fine.
That is elite. Obviously, those attributes at the moment are elite. I'm guessing what makes him separate from obviously the elites is going to be the other mentals like concentration and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, his concentration his teamwork and his work rate are in single digits, so that's going to be what's the concern. But he's got
but regardless, for your league though, that is amazing. Regardless,
it's perfect for our division. Like, we can sell him for about £1 million.
I was going to say
in a couple of years. So he's perfect for this type of save we're doing as well. So talking about buying blind, I decided to just chance my arm on just another player from that club. So back to Generation Foot. And I just took a guess. I was like, I need a midfielder. And I sort of like could see the average ratings and how many matches these players have played. And that's all I could see. I was like, right, he's played the most. He's got a reasonable average rating. Let's have a little nosy at him. A lad called Saliu Faye. And we brought him in. And my word. Oh, like I'm going to buy.
We've had him before.
Have you? Is he a real player? Because I'm going to buy Larissa's shirt with his name on the back. Like, he is going to be a club legend already.
It's a similar name.
Yeah,
but I just remember there was a winger there as well. Like, his wing is like 17, 18 jumping reaches. Like, whoa, that's unusual.
Yeah, he's basically, it just says midfield, yes. First touch 16. First touch 16, technique 16, acceleration 16, decisions 15, composure 14, flair 15, work rate 15, aggression 14. Yeah, he'll do.
Yeah, that's nice. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing so much because when you're talking about taking, sometimes you just got to go for it as well. And that happens a lot when you're using that data approach, right? Sometimes those attributes are just not coming quick enough and you need to buy someone, and then the Barry save. I just remember, like, we were just so positive this guy's going to be amazing. Like, the average rating, the goals, everything. And we're like, yeah, we're going to bring him in. And then it's like opening up a Christmas present, right? Because then when you sign him, then you click on his profile to see his whole attributes. But we didn't even get to see this guy's profile. I just saw half a star. I was like, we've been ripped off.
He's the best he's ever. He's overperformed by so much.
That's one thing you got to watch out for, is those overperformers. And then it's because like, even his history though, like we even checked the history to how was you last season? Make sure it's not a good, like just a good season. Yeah. It's like it's still over a 7. And like, yeah, we're gonna buy him. But like, even if he isn't great, he could be a squad player. And like, this guy is serious. He's not even good enough to go on the 23. It was so bad.
Yeah, he collects the bus fare. That's what he can do now.
Literally, yeah.
Right. So that's where I am. I'll do a bit more of a deep dive next week to do that. Probably should do a massive shout out, by the way, to our new Patreons. We've managed to round up a few this week. Welcome, Liam Ellison, Ian Duncan, Kevin Lewis, and Niall Egan, who all became part of our squad this week. Patreon, of course, is growing. We're posting more exclusive content over there and on Spotify as well, by the way. There's a Spotify subscription service on there. It's the same as Patreon if all you want is just the actual audio. There's none of the extra bonus stuff you get with Patreon. So again, have a little look on there. You can get signed up to subscribe to Spotify. Hopefully before Christmas, fingers crossed, we might be able to get the Nottingham live show uploaded exclusively to Patreon. It's going through a lot of tweaking at the minute for various technical balancing, just to make sure it looks great. You know, we've got to make sure it looks good. So if that isn't enough reason for you to consider signing up, then quite frankly, I don't know what is, to be honest. But yeah, we'll talk about Patreon later on. Moving on, however, quick question just while this episode's on. Have you subscribed to the FM show, either on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts from if you're listening on audio feed? If you haven't, can we ask a little favour? Maybe you might want to consider doing that. You might want to help us out. If you do want to help us out, please hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us. Of course, if you leave a like on the video, if you've enjoyed it, leave a comment below. Obviously, it's the same on audio platforms as well. Little comments, little 5-star reviews and that. They really mean a lot to us, and it helps boost the show, and it means that people are enjoying it and it becomes more visible. Obviously, you can do that via social media as well. You can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, however you want to do that, or come and join the Discord. The Discord's a great place to hang out. You meet like-minded individuals from the community. You get direct access to myself, Producer Steve, RDF Tactics. What more can you say? I mean, that seems totally fair. It costs nothing, and it really helps the show out. So hopefully, that's the sort of thing you might consider. If you do want to give us a little bit of love, come and support us. Come and subscribe to the show, because you know what? We enjoy it, and we like you. So you know what? Back to the episode. Last episode, we started our deep dive into the tactical styles available to you in Football Manager, and we deliberately left some of those untouched so we could talk about them this week. Last week, we chatted about control possession, gegenpress, tiki-taka, vertical tiki-taka, wing play, route one and counter-attack. Aaron, this is your wheelhouse, mate. There's nothing for me here. I mean, actually, no, to be honest, it might be because we're going to get defensive now, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
I had nothing last week. I literally had nothing. I was going, attacking roles? Interesting.
So, before we do get stuck in to those tactical styles, we did have a couple comments from last week's episode on YouTube. One from Els Lostman, and he says, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Oh, what a quote. What a quote. And we also have another comment from VC Pinheiro. I wish you talked about waste time, team instruction on Route 1. I'm puzzled on how that fits. Is that an instruction that you've used, Tony?
What, waste time? That's my life. Waste time. if there was a use time constructively button, I wouldn't be pressing it.
So
you know what? I would love to, and I am in the same boat as VC Pinheiro here. Every time I click waste time, my players go, oh, what he means is, right, is just sit down and do nothing, and we instantly concede.
That is quite literally what you're asking your players to do. You're quite literally asking your players to do nothing, and obviously over set pieces as well, to take the time to make to do their throw-ins, to take their free kicks, to take the corners as well. But really, if you are asking your team to waste time, especially whenever possible, you're quite literally asking, look, whenever you got the opportunity, look to do nothing. So your right back that's supposed to be bombing forward and hitting those passes down to your wingers, he's just gonna get the ball, hold it, and look to do nothing. Just hold on to the ball, and then obviously he might wait for a more simple pass to make, and then that player is going to get the ball, hold on to it, and look to do nothing. This is actually an instruction that I was quite familiar with last year, and I felt last year it worked quite well after a certain point with an attacking situation. So it's sort of that you get into January, February, and your form starts to take a bit of a nosedive. And this is where I felt like time waste kind of helped us, because it was like, all right, boys, take your time now, be more patient, sort of thing. And obviously, when you're using attacking mentality, asking your players to time waste, we're not quite literally asking them to do complete nothing, because of course we're still using the attacking mentality and the high tempo. So your players, it's just basically a step back. We're basically a step back from rushing our actions. It's more now just take your time, still look for that pass, but just
bit of game management, isn't it? Don't necessarily give the ball away.
So what I've found with it, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, on this. So whenever I've moved it to one notch on time wasting, I find as I struggle. But whenever I move it to full time wasting, I sort of get a bit more out of it. Like, again, you're saying there about your players just holding on the ball. That's probably why I'm causing mistakes, because my players haven't got high concentration, high decision making, high composure. There's that composure attribute coming back in again. And if you're on attacking, already my head went straight down to get the ball in the corner. You can still have attacking and time wasting. It doesn't have to be defensive and time wasting, because if you're defensive and time wasting, you're knocking the ball around the front of your box. Of course, you're going to get pressurized and create some mistake. But if you're attacking, that ball's in that corner, get your player in there, in the corner, backside out, hold the ball up, win a throw in.
Exactly that.
That's what you want, isn't it?
Exactly. And for many of those that are using as well, this is quite important. For many of those that are using balance and below, if you're winning and you're sort of in the 80th, 83rd minute, your team will sort of naturally look to do this anyway. They're not going to be, if you're unbalanced anyway, they're going to, because they are at balance, they are assessing the game situation. So they're going to realize they're 1-0 up. They don't need to take this corner quickly. They can take their time. But of course, if this is a system that you want to use from the get-go, something that I did use as well, especially when going attacking, it was sort of just that wheel it in, boys. Like the results are a bit going downhill now. Just make sure you don't lose possession, a little bit like what Steve said. Just play the same way you want to, but now look to try and not lose the ball as often as we were.
And I think additionally on that, sorry, Tony, just to say quickly on the possession thing, on the in-possession tactic bit, the creative freedom is another way of tweaking.
Yeah.
So if you want to whack it on, be more disciplined. That just helps.
Disciplined as well.
And it can go hand in hand,
Or maybe look to adopt a Catenaccio style. Aaron,
yes,
I've got my Italia t-shirt on. We're getting into my neck of the woods right here. So give me Italian football in the 90s. Just keep a hold of the football, and we'll bore the opposition to death. That's what I want to do.
Exactly. So now moving on to the tactical styles. The two that we didn't cover last week was Catenaccio and Part the Boss. A lot of people maybe are wondering what is the difference, because even the wording in the game is quite similar. Now, the way I separate it, I kind of look to in real life. I find part the boss is more of a match situation, and Catenaccio is more of a tactical style. So if you're 1-0 up, then you're like, I want to part the boss. But a Catenaccio could be something that you start with and you actually try and look to win games using that way, using that tactical style. Whereas you might not be looking to win a game using part the boss, because you're quite literally looking to part the boss, part that result, get those points in the bag and go home and that sort of thing. Yeah. So that's the main difference between the two for me.
Steve, obviously you're an aficionado of the Italian style. Like, for you, imagining Catenaccio at its finest, what would be your sort of go-to thoughts of the IRL football, or is it a style that you actually used, or you're a bit more sort of like?
Because Catenaccio obviously has got it so.
You're more South American than Italian, really, aren't you?
In my soul, as I think everyone would agree and say. Yeah, really will come to us. Obviously, Catenaccio means either chain or bolted door in Italian. It's that kind of tradition from the sort of mid-20th century of just like. I think in terms of that question of like the teams it evokes, it is kind of that sort of AC Milan, the Costa Curta, Maldini sort of era, and actually slightly more recently. Although I'm not sure they're necessarily played in these formations much, that sort of Juventus side of Chiellini, Bonucci, Barzagli, and actually centre backs are the kind of weirdly the sort of superstars of it in a lot of respects, in terms of that back three with the wing backs kind of being very much backs rather than wingers, in terms of like just suffocating things, and then just having really talented individual forwards. Again, that era of late 90s, early noughties, like Del Piero, that kind of figure who just lumped the ball up to it and they would do something magic, So it's sort of, as you say, it's interesting, isn't it? In terms of I think the Catenaccio, specifically on Football Manager's interpretation of Serie A, not IRL, the Catenaccio principles of just really blocking the center of the pitch at the back and deep, 2 banks of 4 sort of thing, I think remains in a lot of the teams. Not necessarily a back 5, but certainly like heavily 2 banks of 4 in the middle, really narrow, really congesting the space in front of goal, and then hitting on the break. So it's sort of like the melting pot of Catenaccio principles, kind of to Aaron's point about the difference between part of the bus being game state, Catenaccio being more of a philosophy, rather than strictly playing back 5, wing backs, etc.
Yeah.
So if you were to pull up just the standard sort of like Catenaccio right now, Aaron, as the playing style, if you talk us through what you've got on your screen, talk us through what the game recommends as sort of like what they believe formations that would suit this style would be, and then we'll try and fill the pieces in again like what we did last week.
Yeah. Well, a back 5 and that's it. A back 5. Football Manager
next week.
Football Manager is saying that the best formations, or the recommended formations for the Catenaccio style, would be the 5-2-3 DM wide, the 5-2-1-2 DM and attacking midfield, or the 5-2-2-1 with DMs and attacking midfield. So they're all 3 at the back. Now, what you would find in all of these is that there's a libero involved. And in real life, you could say in the Catenaccio is where the libero was born. And you're just talking about how teams nowadays are sort of using Catenaccio style. Many teams are starting to use that libero now, even in the back 4. Though they're slightly using it differently, but that's kind of the innovation of football tactics over the years. But if you're talking about where the libero was born from, you could say it came from the Catenaccio style of football. So it's still there in football. With the Catenaccio and even part of the boss as well.
I'm just thinking, actually, before you move on, do you want to explain a bit more what libero does? I think actually it'd be good to sort of have a sense in your head.
Yeah. So previously in these sort of formations in the Catenaccio, the libero would be a sweeper. And that would be your sweeper defender sweeping up from the other two defenders. And also, he'll be very comfortable in possession. This is where he can bring the ball forward, he can move into midfield, and he can spray passes. Because Catenaccio is not all about, it is all about defending, but you also have to get the ball forward to try and win the game. And sometimes an attack can start from a libero in the Catenaccio style. Now, moving on to modern day football, we're seeing more so a libero not really sweeping, but they are starting attacks and they're still moving the ball forward and bringing it into midfield, or they would move into midfield, which is something that we're seeing now a lot of in FM24 with their new role, the libero role, which you have two options, support and attack, and they will move into midfield. So libero has changed in recent years, where they're now it's more about in possession, whereas previously you could have said that they were there mainly to sweep up the back line and help, because now there's a super keeper, right? So you don't really want to have a sweeper keeper and a sweeper defender clash together. So now you've got the sweeper keeper, sort of your 11th player, because there's 10 players on the pitch, right? Now there could be your 11th player on the pitch.
Great day for numbers for you, Aaron, isn't it?
RDF tactics.
And yeah, that's oh my God.
How many downloads do you get for your tactical videos when you're not sure how many
There's so many tactics and stuff. That was
right. So I've got a front one and a back three, and that's it. And we should be fine.
Yeah, the super keeper will do everything. He's a sweeper wing back as well.
Dear Sports Interactive, please consider the sweeper keeper wing back role for next year.
Sweeper keeper wing back. Yeah.
Yeah. So in FM, we do have 3 5 at the back formations to pick from. And you're going to find some very intriguing things with the Catenaccio now. We're going to, as I keep clicking through these audio listeners, I am switching between each 3 formations. And what I'm doing right now is actually trying to see if there's any familiarities, like what is really important, Football Manager would think is important for a Catenaccio style, and also playmakers. Playmakers seem very important. So in the 5-2-3 DM wide, which would have 2 wingers and a central striker, Football Manager recommend you starting out using a trequartista.
Now that's very
with the 2-striker formation. Yeah.
Oh.
With the 5-2-1-2 formation, so it's got the 2 strikers now, and then the attacking midfield. Up top, you got the advanced forward on the left, deep line forward on the right on support, and then behind them, again, the trequartista. And then for the last one, we have a 5-2-2-1, which is 2 attacking midfielders and 1 striker. And this is crazy. This is actually blowing my mind. We've got the enganche as an attacking midfielder with an attacking midfielder role. So we've got 2 attacking midfielders, 1 enganche, 1 attacking midfielder on support, and then up top, trequartista. So in this one, we've actually got 3 playmakers, because the Roman playmaker, there's also a Roman playmaker in defensive midfield. So in this last one, you've actually got 3 playmakers, natural playmakers, and then on top of that, you've got the libero as well. So actually mayhem, you can actually get a bit of mayhem using the Catenaccio style here.
It's not just put your foot on the ball and time waste, is it? Like, remember, the Italians used to do attractive football, you know? What about like something like a regista as well, Aaron? Is that something that you could maybe fit into that system? I know, again, it's a very popular role in Italian football.
So that a regista, Football Manager does recommend you use a regista in the 5-2-1-2 formation as well. Which this one, I'm a bit, admittedly, I am a bit confused, because I would have had it the other way around in FM24. Maybe FM23 and previous years before that will be a bit different, because now we've got positional play, where the Roman playmaker is one of those roles that would move from DM into attacking midfield. So now, my thinking, they've got a Roman playmaker in DM, but then they've got 2 attacking midfielders, which in movement could make 3. Bearing in mind, though, it is a defensive mentality, so the Roman playmaker is not going to see, he's like, oh, I'm supposed to be an attacking midfielder, start running. He is going to obviously pick his moment to do so, but regardless, I still thought it would have been the other way around, where now with 1 attacking midfielder, you've got the trequartista, and then you've got the regista. And I'm thinking, if you're using a Roman playmaker, there might be opportunities for the Roman playmaker to join that trequartista to then make 2 attacking midfielders. That was just in my head. Yeah, I just got a bit tripped out looking at that. But in Catenaccio, it seems that not only a libero and a 3 at the back is important, having a primary playmaker, both deep and up front, is fairly important as well.
Yeah, Perlo says hello, doesn't he?
So actually, people do talk about, defensive football is so difficult to implement in Football Manager. And looking at this, rightly so, because it's very specific. You have to, in this system, you have to make sure you've got a very good trequartista up top. Then you've got to make sure you've got a very good playmaker at the back. And then you've got to make sure you've got a very good libero in defense as well. And they're very, very specific roles. And then around them, you're going to want mentality monsters. You want people that can win the ball in the air as well, especially when you're thinking about counter-attack, because you need to have that advantage over the opponent. So these could be also reasons why it could be fairly difficult to implement this game style. It's not impossible at all. It's just going to be fairly difficult, especially modern football where we're not really breeding these players naturally anymore. We are breeding those physical footballers trained to run 90 minutes and sort of work hard for the team, work as a team rather than a trequartista is not really going to work as a team. He's not going to help you track back and all of that sort of stuff. He's going to be there and he's got a very specific role to playmate, to drift around and be difficult for the opposition to pick up. Which sort of, before this, we were speaking about Eden Hazard and how Eden Hazard maybe a brilliant footballer in the 90s and the early 2000s, whereas now football's kind of changed and you sort of need those playmakers that will also work really, really hard. Not saying it's very difficult because you don't want to step on Hazard's toes and say that he doesn't work hard, sort of thing. You don't want to portray that image of someone, but I think people,
that's needed
I think people kind of get where I'm going with this, that sort of Jordan Henderson vibe, that work hard. Same
as De Gea, no longer that style of goalkeeper is now no longer desirable.
Yeah, it's not to say that we don't appreciate that, because we do. We talk about these players for years to come, but of course football does change, and we've already touched on that with liberos and tactical styles. Football does change and it will continue to change.
Is there a context, you think, Aaron, in the modern game where Catenaccio would actually work really well, or do you think it's kind of a nice but sort of it's like relic in the way that the WM isn't used anymore?
Yeah, I think more so it may depend more so in divisions that you are. So I can't imagine a Catenaccio working brilliant in the Premier League. But if you was to try this in Italy, in Serie B, and the league below that Serie, is it just Serie B and Serie C?
I think it divides.
When it comes to like Ligue 1, I know Ligue 1, but then it starts to get to Ligue 2 and Ligue 1. And then I don't know.
Basically, I only went to the first lesson of French, and after it gets to 1 and 2, I don't really know whether they have a division
Bonjour,
or not.
je m'appelle Aaron. And you start having a conversation. Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think
division. What do you call it?
I do think these tactical styles will work in certain divisions rather than in, I would say, Premier League, because Premier League, more teams would play it a similar way. Even now, you would see a Burnley trying to maintain possession of the ball and that sort of stuff. So I think maybe the Premier League might be difficult, whereas in the Serie A, just in my experience, again, I'm speaking of my experience watching, playing in Football Manager, teams do have different tactical styles. Like 1 minute you're playing a diamond against a diamond, next minute you're playing against a back three, which that could be them sort of their Catenaccio, but moving away from Catenaccio to sort of vibes from the AI as well.
Could I make a legitimate case for turning Blind Spartans Catenaccio? Because I'll be honest, all I've decided there now is going, imagine that. Imagine non-league Catenaccio. It clearly can't work, but
I think so, because I think I'm imagining now, it is in those sort of leagues where you can find those trequartistas, right? Those brilliant technical players, but you see, look at their physical attributes, and you're just seeing 3, 2, 2, 3. But they've got like 17 for passing and 18 first touch. So maybe you can get that in those lower leagues. Yeah, it might be a bit difficult to find a libero, but.
Come back next week when I've got Catenaccio Spartans happening. This is going to be superb.
Oh, what a name.
Okay, so if we can't do Catenaccio, my other option is just get the double-decker in front of the goal. Right? Sorry, lads, just leave this here for half an hour. Just don't mind me. Part of the bus, classic Mourinho. You say there, game state more than game mentality. I think is probably the best way of describing it.
Yeah. And here you will see as well with the description, players will look to get behind the ball and protect their defensive third, focusing more on the clean sheet than on possession. I think that's key there, focusing more on the clean sheet. Now, when we talk about game state, we are talking about in that situation. So even if you are winning 3-1, once you implement that park the bus situation in your sort of head, it's 1-0 and you're trying to protect that clean sheet sort of thing. So you're protecting that lead and you do not want to concede. You want to protect whatever you've got at the moment. And that is that sort of game vibe. And then when you're looking at the formations, now we're starting to see in like players in solid banks. So we've got the 4-4-2, which is the back four, then the midfield, then the two strikers, and that is how you can defend against the opposition. You've got minimal lines in between those players, in between those banks, very difficult to break through. Then you've got the 4-2-4, sort of a bit more expressive, you could say, with the two wingers, but then you also got two defensive midfielders as well. So it works out balance-wise similarly to the 4-2-4. This could just depend on your players as well, and what players you've got at your disposal. And then you've got the 4-3-3, which uses a pressing forward on the defend up top. Wowzers.
So again, with these then, Aaron, because again, Catenaccio Spartans, part of the bus Spartans, it all makes sense for me because, you know, I'm not expected to be winning these games. I'm meant to be like struggling in the league. So I'm presuming not like it's probably not wise just to instantly go straight for this, because I'm guessing there's certain attributes and mentalities that I'm going to need from my players. I'm guessing high composure, high concentration, like then don't need to be scared. Decision making needs to be pretty good. So it's not just a case of my players are worse, part of the bus. It's that thing of going, I need to protect what I've got. So I actually need really smart players to do that.
Yeah. And that's true. One thing as well that I don't really like is protecting that lead and you're defending low, or defending deep. That scares me. But in your situation, when you're talking about low concentration, though it sounds more riskier to move your defensive line higher, to me it makes more sense because now there's less focus on your concentration because you're not defending so deep and close to your goal. That can be mentally draining during a match, having to remain focused on the edge of your box sort of thing. But if you're allowed to push further higher up, that can actually release some of the pressure. Now, of course, you could concede some space in behind, but that's, I mean, in football, not even necessarily football manager, there's always risk. There's always risk. Defending deep, you've got a risk in inviting too much pressure. Defending higher, you've got the risk of conceding space in between your defense line and your goalkeeper. So there's always going to be a risk. And it depends on what's right for you. If you've got two defenders, great focus, great concentration, anticipation, positioning is actually very important as well, then defend deep, sure. But if you think that your players may not be able to handle that mentality of having to focus constantly through 90 minutes, then maybe you can shift your defensive line up, but you're still going to get that part of the bus because of your player roles. They're not bombing forward. They're still focusing on remaining deep, staying in their position and not conceding space and not allowing space to be exploited.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, that makes sense. I guess that is the first thing going, drop the lines, and going, you're just bringing pressure on it. So it just doesn't necessarily work. We had a question, Aaron, which I've attempted to answer in Discord, by the way. So if you're not in our Discord, come and join us. It's the link is below. It's a great place to hang out. And again, you get contact with us straight away to ask these questions rather than waiting for a week on the pod. Questions coming from Clue, who said, and this is something that I don't think has been mentioned a lot, but is something you should probably consider. Groundsmen have asked for size alterations on the pitch. Groundskeepers, I should say. Sorry, groundskeepers have asked for size alterations on the pitch. Now, obviously, I think some people would just go, I just click that. It doesn't really matter. Like, current dimensions are totally fine. Like, but you do get options, and it is worth looking at this. You do get options of a small pitch, a narrow pitch, a long pitch, a wide pitch. My answer, correct me if I'm wrong on this, my answer was along the lines of, it depends upon how you want to play. So again, if we're talking about our playing style, if you play possession-based football, then I'm guessing you're going to want the pitch quite compact. You don't want to have it really wide because that's going to tire your players out and the ball's going to have to be going all over the place. If you play direct, you're going to want it longer so you can pump those balls from deep. I guess beneficial for a wing play system would be wide, get the players to get chalk on their boots and stretch the play. But I suppose ultimately, Aaron, it comes down to how you want to play, but also be aware of how your opposition are going to play when they come there as well. Because if you've got a wide pitch and you're up against a team who are really, really good at exploiting space, Ooh, could be risky.
So, and I noticed this. This is crazy. This is one of the, like, when I was a youngster, going to following Arsenal around England, some of the away games. This is some of the, not necessarily in the Premier League, actually. It was more so in the cup games. I noticed this. It's actually crazy that we're speaking about it now as well. Pretty happy about that. But there were some pitches which were narrow and long. And it's like, you notice it and it makes it difficult. And I'm like, why are Arsenal struggling just to keep the ball on the floor? Sometimes the grass is longer as well. Why are Arsenal struggling to keep the ball on the floor and zip it about? And it's because actually some of these stadiums are tailor-made for the opposition. I actually think it was Burnley at the time as well. And then it was just like, because their football is, they obviously want to make the pitch kind of close. So Arsenal can't expand the pitch and play about into open spaces, but it's also long and it suits their direct football. Which for us, if we're trying to move the ball from back to front, it feels like it's taken longer to get to their goal because the pitch is longer. Whereas for them, they're literally just kicking the ball from A to B, sort of thing. I don't want to disrespect that style of football because I do like it as well. No. But that is the aim, is to get the ball from A to B, sort of thing. And yeah, it's one of those things that you do notice, and I think that is tailor-made to the style of play. Now, down to that question on Football Manager, I don't think I've noticed it in the Premier League. Maybe I've just skipped it, but I have noticed that question does come in different leagues that I have managed in, and it is something that I have skipped. But in previous FMs, I did take that. Definitely seriously.
Another marginal game.
It is something that I
have, very clear.
Yeah,
marginal
absolutely.
Games,
yeah,
absolutely.
Think about,
yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
It?
It's like, I don't want to go
and
to this stadium.
Actually,
it's that sort of vibe.
Done recently, going from day one onwards, etc. Why that's another thing. Once you've got everything, having a clarity of what you're doing, permeating throughout everything on the game just helps, and the pitch dimensions are part of that too. Speaking of clarity, but also not clarity.
You can only change that once a season. It should be said, by the way, as well. You can only change that once a season. So at the start of the season, you pick and you're stuck with it. So you can't then change your style. So again, remember that if you decide you're going to have this long pitch because you're going to go direct, and then you work out that actually that's not working for you, and you want to keep the football, well, hey, guess what? You've got a long pitch to keep that football in for the rest of the season. So, risk and reward. I'm going to get that on a t-shirt. Risk and reward.
I was going to say, also, if you're taking over a team, maybe that's something for you to check out as well.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe check out their pitch dimensions and see what it's like. You're thinking, I'm coming to play tiki-taka with your narrow, long pitch. And you're thinking, why are my players passing it off the pitch?
And we should say too, just to sort of wrap this section up, broadly speaking, is that we've mentioned all the various tactical options that the game offers, but you can, in your 3 slots, you can have different ones. Yes. So, for example, I've got a control possession option on one tactic, the revolutionary vertical tiki-taka in the second one. And the third one, I'm kind of floating around a bit. It's not particularly defined for me at the moment because those two at the moment are working for me. But, might try something else as well. So.
I tend to have my standard fluid counter-attack, my vertical tiki-taka, which having listened and spoken about on last week's show, should now just be called tiki-taka or control possession, because I'm not playing vertical tiki-taka. I've done the wrong button there. And then I've also got a gegenpress if I feel like I have to really dial the game up. So again, same formation, same roles 90% of the time. We'll tweak a couple of roles depending upon what the style is. But yes, we definitely do different styles for different game types. Game states.
For those audio listeners, if you're not sure how to have 3 tactics, on a tactic, you can go on tactics on the left. And then with your main one, you've got the 1 and then your formation. And there's a little plus sign. You can click that. You can create a new tactic. So for Steve and Tony, maybe theirs is pretty much a new tactic because it's a different tactical style, which is obviously totally okay. It depends on how you play the game. Maybe you want a different tactical style or you just want a slight tactical tweak. If it's a slight tactical tweak, you could just go to copy here and then press boom. And then it's the same. It will be the same version. And then you can make your tweaks, or you can go to add a new tactic, create new tactic, and you can have a complete different style. How I play it personally, I do have, on the screen right now, you will see a 4-2-4-1. If you're listening as well, the tactic is 4-2-4-1, and my midfielders are on supportive duty. Now, this is my main thing. Now, if I'm playing Real Madrid away from home, maybe I'm just going to put the DLP on defend and change the Segundo Volante to a DM on defend, and now my 2 defensive midfielders on defend. And that's just a slight tactical tweak, which shouldn't be much of a shock for the players because they are training both tactics. Now, if you do have that thinking in your head, when I go to a certain place, I want to try a different formation, make sure you have it in your tactical slot, because then in training, they will also somewhat train that formation as well. And when you are using it, it's not going to be a complete shock to the system for your players. If you're trying to implement a new tactical style in the middle of a game or just before a game, it's tactical familiarity is going to hurt you.
That's next week's episode, Aaron. Don't tell everyone about it just yet.
I love this. Oh, can I say that? It's copyrighted.
What's copyrighted? Speaking.
I love this game. I love this game. Sorry. I thought it was copyrighted. I'm pretty sure someone got in trouble for using it. Not
we'll find out.
Yeah. There might not be an episode next week, everyone, but if there is, yes. What I was going to say, just as a quick addition to what Aaron just said there, I can't confirm it definitely works on FM24, but on FM23, when you copied your tactical style across into the new formation slot, it also carried your set piece instructions as well. Ooh. So when you were creating a new style, a new tactic in that second slot, you had to go and redo all your set pieces again. Yeah. I think in FM24 it's still the same. So if you want to copy the style over, then do all your adjustments,
it should be the same
formation, then it has the same set piece.
I think your set piece creator is just in general rather than for that tactic. So
exactly. But you know what? Get in touch with us and tell us if that's true or wrong. Of course, remember, we've got the Tactics Garage if you want to have your tactic diagnosed, because we've played enough of FM24 now to be working out what works and what doesn't. Isn't that right, Aaron? Let's go into the mailbag and see what you've got for us this week. Spoiler alert, it's not tactics. Hello, everyone. Tony here. Hope you're enjoying the episode. And if you are enjoying the episode, then maybe you might consider signing up to support us on Patreon, Aaron.
Yes. And we can't just leave it there. I think we should tell them more. What are we offering?
Okay, right. So Patreon, if you don't know what Patreon is a way of supporting the FM show as a podcast if you can afford it. We must stress if you can afford it, okay?
Yes.
If you want to sign up, become a member of the FM show team, you can do so from as little as £3 a month. And Aaron, what are we going to give them in return?
Exclusive content, some of my favorite things, but also a Patreon shout out. We'll get some bonus episodes given to you. I believe as well, you get some Discord benefits. Am I right?
There's Discord benefits, absolutely. There's a little private secret channel in there where only the Patreons can talk, where they get maybe they get some heads up on things that we're going to start making in the future as well. We've started putting save files in for certain tiers. You might hear about live show tickets early doors because, you know, we've got a live show on now. We might have more in the future, and we're going to let our Patreons know about that first.
Oh, yes. And even if you're struggling a bit on Football Manager, we will be doing a monthly Q&A for FM24.
Absolutely. And there's going to be loads more stuff as well. Potentially things like me and Aaron going up against each other on versus mode. It's going to be the place to be. If you can afford to support the podcast, please do. From as little as £3 a month, you can go and visit patreon.com/the FM Show Pod to become a member of the FM Show Squad.
So on YouTube and Discord, it has been blowing up. The notifications have been coming through. And first off, we have Andy, Aston Villa, Hannah. So to RDF, to the FM Show Pod, Tony, and producer Steve. All right, lads, quick question. I'm in season 2 with Ajax, a lot of promising youngsters, but do I send them out on loan or bring the best of the crop up to the first team first? Being around the first team still helps them develop. In a question mark. That's a question, by the way.
I mean, he's managing Ajax, isn't it? That's a club built on bringing youngsters into the first team. Surely they've been playing the same way since they were born.
Yeah, so it depends. For me, it depends on the age. The age is very important. Now, if you're between 16 and 18, I can promote you to the first team. I don't really care about game time because it's all only about development. Now, once you're getting past the age of 18, I think game time is fairly important. If you don't have a clear pathway for a certain youngster, in my opinion, it's best to send them out on loan and make sure they're getting games. Now, when you are sending them out on loan, you have to be careful. So on the screen right now, for those who are watching, audio listeners as well. If I go to, I've got David Carmo, a centre-back in Portugal, plays for Porto. If I go to his coach report, now this coach is going to tell me, here it is, he's a good player for most Liga Portugal sides. Now, this is actually a bad example because I'm not going to send him out on loan. But as an example, if I was going to send him out on loan now, I am looking for a league at this level or above. Many of us will just offer out on loan and just accept. For me, he has to be getting regular first team football. So if I go to transfer, offer via transfer room, loan offer, you have agreed playing time, I make sure I select regular starter because it is game time that we are looking for this youngster, and then I'll offer them out. When I get offers now, I make sure I accept clubs that are operating at the level the coach says the players operating at or above, never below. The last thing you want to do is send out a player who's good enough to play in a championship and you've just accepted all loans and he's accepted a League One or a League Two side. That is no good for the development of your player.
Absolutely. And again, let's have another look at player pathways because it is really, really important in this game as well. Yes. And also, I mean, let's go back to the start of the episode where I'm saying sometimes you just have a hunch about a player. Sometimes you just know this guy's the one, this guy's not the one. Exactly, so there's a little bit of intuition. Calling back to my saves, we have a query with regards to Build a Nation. Look at this. I'm almost becoming, I'm not going to use the word expert because, you know, I'm someone on this podcast who's doing a Build a Nation. That's where I am. It's Clue 1987, who's Kevin Lewis, who of course has just joined our Patreon. So question, hello gents, I am looking to start a Build a Nation save and need some suggestions on a country to select. And then I will search for a team. Now, Clue, or Kevin, you may also be known, we did an episode with Second Yellow Card a little while ago, episode 10, I believe it was. So go back down through the feed, either on YouTube or on the audio platforms. And we spoke about Build a Nation. And on there, on Spotify, we had a little poll about what we thought would be an interesting nation for Build a Nation. We had Scotland, we had Wales, we had Sweden, Czech, Romania, and Indonesia. Our audience thought that Sweden was the best place to start. So maybe have a little consideration at Sweden. A lot of talent out there in Scandinavia. So that could be an interesting one.
Yeah. And just to wrap this episode up, we've had a query on the Discord about merchandise from Tebigby. Tebigby is the username. Thanks for asking the question. Any merch about? That's the query. So as Tony has replied on Discord, you know, let us know what you'd like, really. Would you want t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, hats, that sort of thing? You know, if you let us know if they're like what the most popular thing would be, whether it's a t-shirt, for example, we can figure out the best way sort of ethically to produce them in terms of the cotton and the resources. You know, there are plenty of options out there doing it really cheaply, but in a way that is,
but we'd rather do it right.
Not, you know, in terms of like where that's being made, where the cottons come from, the water usage, the amount that people making get paid, that sort of stuff. Making the ethical choice does then mean the price of the merch will be more expensive. So, you know, we're talking realistically somewhere around £20 and above for a t-shirt to be made ethically, which elsewhere it would be cheaper, but there's a reason for that. The cost is elsewhere non-financial. So what the demand is, and you may hear in the background, my kitten has just decided right at the end of the podcast to join in.
The kids are march.
Yeah, exactly.
Bobby is currently making notes of what you like. So if you let Bobby know what sizes we can get found out.
Yes,
actually, that's probably the wrong time to be saying we're talking about, you know, like ethical trading and going, we've got a cat taking orders for merch.
Animal labor, so let us know via Discord, via the email, via whichever social media. You know, from a sort of point of view, we might even, saying this on the fly, wondering if it's possible, do a poll maybe. Would that be a good idea?
Yeah, poll completely be possible. Yeah.
We might probably struggle to get something ethically sourced before Christmas, but if the demand's there, we'll of course, we're already making those calls. So let us know, I guess, is the key thing.
Yeah.
And finally, I said that the wrong way around. I said the final thing was the penultimate thing. The penultimate thing was actually the final thing. I have seen rumours, I've seen online that a certain Tony Jameson is doing a Football Manager advent calendar. Is he not? And obviously, the day that you'll be hearing this, it will be the 6th of December. So there'll be 6 names down the list if Tony makes it that far. But thus far, what are you thinking?
I just want to do a bit of fun, to be honest, because I'll be honest, right? I'm not really particularly festive person, but of course we've got kids, so I'm kind of sort of see it through their eyes now. I was going to treat myself to like a coffee advent calendar because, there's loads of different ways of doing stuff now. And I thought maybe, you know what, it would just be nice online to just do a little advent calendar. And every day I'm going to post just, a legend of FM or champ man. And we started off with Taribo West on day one, figured that was the best one to start off with, the ultimate free transfer. And that's my plan. So between, the 1st of December until Christmas, we're going to start posting up every single day a champ man or football manager legend. Obviously, up until the point we've recorded now, I have committed to posting up. I've had Taribo West. I've done Oscar Cardozo. Do you remember him? Tommy Svindal Larsen, the Norwegian superstar who can play everywhere.
Oscar Cardozo. Of course I do.
Of course, everyone remembers Oscar Cardozo. The Scottish midfield sensation, Mark Kerr, obviously. Leo Bang Makwena, the South African midfield superstar, who, if you know, you know. And today, we're saying, Steve, today about posting up. Today is Andre Sigporsson, the Icelandic goal machine, who had a PA of 200 once back in the day. So there you go. So yeah, genuinely, he was an absolute legend of the game. So I'm thinking, and again, this is on-screen editing right now. Okay, I think possibly we do a Christmas special where maybe we just spend the whole episode going through these players that I've posted out over the Christmas period. Maybe we'll have a mulled wine. Maybe we'll have a glass of Baileys. Let us know if that seems like the sort of thing that you might like.
Imagine this, but drunk.
Please do, of course.
I was going to say, I talk about live editing. I just had to make sure my head long enough. I was thinking maybe I should get some Taribo West style haircut. I was just thinking that as well, and dye it green for the episode.
Is that going to make it there in like
I think I'm going to go.
Or 25 days?
We can make it there in a month, right? We can make it happen. Couple of baubles and some Christmas lights on Aaron's Taribo West.
We do like to use hair extensions as well. So
yeah.
I would just go to the hairdressers. Taribo West, please.
Wow. Well, on that note,
I think Steve's going to have to do the outro.
Christmas special. Put it in your diaries, everyone. This is going to happen.
Absolutely. I can't wait.
Right. Obviously, get in touch. Follow us on all the social medias. Join the Discord. Drop us an email at thefmshowpod@gmail.com. That is thefmshowpod@gmail.com. And of course, thank you so much for listening. This has been episode 21 of the FM show, hosted by myself, Tony Jameson. Our co-host was Aaron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics. Our producer, still, he's not left us yet, but I think it's getting closer, is producer Steve. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Stay safe. We'll see you soon. Bye.